We recommend listening to the CW Pod with a glass of Steeple Ridge Bourbon. Grown, distilled, well-rested, and bottled in Erling, Iowa. Now from the Channel Seed Studios, this is the CW Pod, fueled by Steeple Ridge.
Hello, welcome to CW Pod. We're going to change pace a little bit today, but this is I got one of my dear friends with me, and she's seen me drink more Steeple Ridge than most people have. Joni Hutchinson is one of my dear friends, and she joins me here today. How are you, my friend? Thanks for coming on the show.
I'm doing good.
We're promoting something fun.
Yeah.
This will be a little bit of a heavy show, I think, but we're promoting something really fun. Which is coming up this weekend in our hometown of Bondurant. We are having a pro wrestling event. We have 2 world championship matches that are going to happen, and we want everybody to come out and join us. It should be a good night weather-wise. It looks like I've been talking about this on the show for a few weeks, but we're going to promote the event coming up this weekend. But we're also going to promote Joni and her family's foundation that honors their late daughter Ava. We'll talk about that and all the great things you guys are doing with that. And I really too, this is hard and for you to just kind of tell your story. And I'm hoping that we can impact people in a positive way. You're one of the strongest people I know. And I mean that. And it's been a blessing for us to be able to live next to you guys and grow up with you. But it takes a lot of courage to come on here and talk about stuff like this. So thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
You nervous?
I thought of many excuses of how I could back out of this.
But this is good. So what I admire about you is you go through the unthinkable and you lost your beautiful daughter at the age of 11, but you're trying to honor her, and you are honoring her. You're not trying to. In like her memory by like doing all these great things in the community. Yeah. Where did that strength come from? Like walk me through where living Ava's way began.
I had pondered it for a long time, and grief is exhausting. So it took me a while to get there. And I thought, this isn't about me. This is about Ava. Mm-hmm. Her life was cut short. She was basically robbed of an entire lifetime. But she impacted more people in her short years than most people do in their entire lifetimes. And I needed to see that carried on. I needed to see her impact spread or continue to spread across, whether it just be our community or the state or who knows where it'll go.
The foundation, what inspired you to do what you're doing?
Ava did. Yeah. She was my person. She was everything to a lot of people. Her glitter was her favorite color, and pink and purple too. Mm-hmm. She had the best laugh, great sense of humor. She was diagnosed with cancer at 28 months. So she was just a little thing, and she was having headaches, and we took her to the doctor several times, and they couldn't find anything wrong with her. And the day we were supposed to go for her CT scan, she was fine, and I almost canceled it. But she just she was 2 years old, and she'd grab the back of her head and said, "Mama, my head hurts." And she would kind of sometimes, like a drunken sailor, kind of run into the wall a little bit here and there. Yeah. And so she fought really hard as a 2-year-old. And that inspiration is what leads me through the day, to think of all the things that she endured before she was 4 years old. Like, we didn't even know if she'd go to preschool. She relapsed at 3. The tumor had started, they called it seeding through the lining of her brain, because they had resected the original tumor, but she couldn't do the radiation because her brain was so underdeveloped at the age of 2. Yeah. They were afraid the the impact would be, the deficits with the radiation to her brain would be too much. And it would have, but then the relapse came. And so she had stem cell transplants and, most toddlers are on the playground or at home playing with their sister or brother or whatever. And to watch that and just to watch how, even at that age, the people she touched, we were up at Mayo and people would stop and just talk to us about how strong she was. And I'm like, she's just a little girl. This shouldn't be happening. But even grown men, to see them going through what she was going through, and they would just tear up and think, how do you do this as a parent? And I'm like, we just keep doing,
Yeah. What choice do you have? Yeah. Right. Like the resiliency of children is one thing. And I know she certainly had that, but you've seen it. So at these going up to Mayo, and I'm sure you've met other parents that were going through it. I mean, these kids are unbelievable.
Right.
Like it's unbelievable that it's funny because now that I'm a dad, and when I first met you guys, I wasn't, but like part of me, like I think about you and Chris as much as I were and Emma, as much as I was Ava during that. Cause it's just those kids, it just feels like this is what they know. Unfortunately, it's horrific, but isn't that it? Like it's just day by day for them.
Right. Yeah. The impacts are not always on the surface. Like Emma, my oldest, she's 22. She just spent 2 weeks this summer at the Children's Cancer Connection camp. And it's emotional for her.
Mm-hmm.
She's there giving back because she got to go to camp for so many years, and now she gets to be a counselor. But she also feels those emotions coming back as she's seeing these kids go through the same thing she went through as a sibling, and her sister went through.
That's one thing that working with the Cancer Connection a little bit through you taught me, and I know Living Ava's Way, the foundation thinks about the siblings too, right? Because that's a deal where there's no playbook. No. If you're a parent and you're trying to literally save one,
right,
and then the other one still has to study for a spelling test, and maybe a jerk at school is picking on them, or like they still have their
right
day-to-day problems. And these siblings of these pediatric cancer patients are heroes.
Yeah, I heard a term one time about shadow survivors.
Oh,
they're in the shadows surviving in a different way. Even we were split up for months at a time. Chris would be home, and then we'd switch back and forth for work schedules and different things. And the best part was when Emma, during the summer, when she could come and stay at the Ronald McDonald House with us, so Emma and Ava could be together. But it's all very, even just thinking back on it, I still remember the details. They're just ingrained in my memory. I wish they weren't. Sometimes it's just, you wake up and it's like a living nightmare.
Yeah. I think that's an important story to tell, is the sibling piece.
Yeah.
And then I think the other one too, that I didn't know any of this until I worked with St. Baldrick's.
Yeah.
And we've had their representatives come on our show for, 10 years now, something like that, is the amount. So when a kid gets cancer, there's not as much research and treatment as when an adult does, which is insane. But can you explain that a little? Like, it's basically because little people don't, like, their bodies are just different. They react to these drugs differently, right? Like how frustrating was that, I guess? And that's what's one of the things we're trying to change, right?
Yeah. There's a very small portion of funding that is allotted for kids' cancer. And there's very little testing and research that's being done. So we are on the backside trying to make up for that gap in funding. I don't even remember, like, one of the drugs that Ava had hadn't been changed since the 70s.
Man, That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 40 years.
Yeah. Like we were waiting for some kind of miracle treatment in 2017. And the miracle treatment it's there, it exists, but it's not available for kids. It's it's a CAR T cell therapy that they're doing in California, and it's still in studies. So, but it's been shown to help with gliomas. So it's frustrating to see that it's been in existence since 2017. It just isn't.
Well, do you know why? Like, is it money? Is it politics? Is it, because I feel like there's a growth side of all this too.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know exactly, but I think
I'll say it. I mean, I think from the research,
we all have an idea of what's behind it.
It just is. It's so gut wrenching. And then, the aspect of, a lot of these kids will survive, but then there's a long road after that. Right. I mean, I remember Ava gets through her round and right. And then there's developmental stuff because they've been going through chemo and radiation or, whatever. Right. And then they're developmentally behind, and it is, and then there's always a chance it comes back because of the treatments that they've already had. Right.
Right. Yeah. And most of the cancers, if there's a secondary in children, if there's a secondary cancer, there's no treatment. And we ran into that brick wall with Ava. They said it's a secondary cancer based off of the treatment she had. There's no. So
that means the treatment she had is what caused this second cancer.
Yes. Yeah, there's so much red tape. I feel like if we could cut through that red tape, but that's much bigger than I am. So, well, but we could do the little things like St. Baldrick's, and not even that's little, it's big, but
the whole scheme of things in the pharmaceutical world, it's little, but we're trying to make it big.
Right. Yeah. And I think just talking about it and letting people know that, because I think most people don't know. I didn't know when they said, well, it's a secondary cancer. And it came from the treatment. There's no treatment for it. And I was like, what do you mean there's no treatment? It's still cancer. And I mean, I get that a person's body can only handle so much treatment. But it had been years. She'd been in remission for 7 years. And sometimes it's finding a doctor who will not really blur the lines a little bit.
We'll push a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. A doctor who is committed to trying different drugs and to trying different things. And that's what we did for Ava. And a lot of that was to slow down the growth and give her more time.
Yeah. That aspect of it too, when it comes back, I one of the reasons I admire you guys so much is the anxiety. Right. It had to have just taken over your life at some point. I mean,
yeah,
it would for me.
Yeah.
At least just knowing that possibility was out there. Like, how did you get through that? So I say you're one of the strongest people I know, because I would just be up all night worrying.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of sleepless nights. There still are. I still think about things that I did or didn't do or could have done, or things I just didn't know. And I have to tell myself I did the best I could with what I had. But I think there's a lot of that people don't realize, the guilt that comes from losing a child. Or I couldn't have saved her, but I was her mom, and that's what moms do.
Yeah.
They save their kids, they protect their kids. And it was beyond my control. And I have so much guilt for that. I won't call it shame, because I'm so proud of her and my family. But we have a lot of anxiety. It's still there. It's still on the surface. I'm shaking right now. Oh. It's
important that you're telling this story, because we want to raise as much money as we can for what you guys are doing. Yeah. And I think, the personalizing it is gonna do that. I know that it seems small, but when we can help even just one family locally that's going through something like this, and just maybe raise money for them to take care of some medical bills or pay their mortgage for a few months, or send the brother or sister to camp, right? Like that, isn't that where we're headed with Living Ava's Way? And it's inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So many people helped us along the way. I remember we got the secondary cancer diagnosis in 2016. It was July 6th to be exact. And we were driving home.
Right on the anniversary there.
Yeah. And I said, I can't work. I can't go back to work. I can't miss a minute of her life.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris and I both agreed that we were going to quit our jobs. And I'm not even sure what insanity was driving that, but or how we even thought we were going to do it. But that was the instant decision we made. And it worked out in the end. People came forward and they helped us in ways that I can't even begin to say thank you for. But that's what we are trying to do. We're trying with this foundation is just to give back to in whatever ways we can find that benefit the people that need it the most. The
one thing I always remember is something Chris said to me. Chris is Joni's husband. Big, burly. You'll meet him on Saturday night. He'll be the guy walking around with Busch Light. Yeah. Maybe we can get him in the ring, take out the bad guy.
Don't encourage him.
He said something to me when I was young that is I've never forgotten. It was something like we don't worry about the cookie crumbs on the counter.
Right.
And it's one thing that being your friend has taught me, and this is something in our house we try and carry. We have Ava's prayer up on our refrigerator, and we try and use lessons to make our whole deal better. And that's one of those things where I just feel like anymore, any of us, I think we're all guilty of it. Everybody watching and listening to this can attest to it. You probably can. We worry about these things that just really, at the end of the day, don't matter. Right. Like scratch on your car or these things that I do this every day. And I always remember Chris saying that to me.
Right.
And what am I supposed to say? He's at Mayo with holding his little girl. Like right. Like for a man like that to say that to me, like it resonated with me. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I remember we were in your kitchen. And Ava was still around, and I was just asking him for advice on something. I don't remember what it was, but what advice would you have to people just to lift them up? Like, right. Because we're so busy. Like, I feel like some days, like I've been in Vegas for 36 hours, come back. I've recorded like 6 podcasts today. Like I feel like I can't breathe sometimes. And it's like, dude, chill out. Right. What did Ava teach you about that we can maybe inspire other people with?
Well, first of all, that's being human. And we have had lessons that we didn't want to have. But having had those lessons, one of the mottos we have at our house, we have several, but I don't know if this will help anybody, but there's been worse, or there could be worse, or, we have each other, and that's all that matters. I remember when we got the first diagnosis, and then the second one, and then the third one. And I wanted to just sit and say, why me? Why? Yeah. Why my kid? Why my family? I mean, why is this happening? But then I thought, why? That's not going to help. That isn't going to help anybody. It's not going to help my kids. It's not going to help my husband. And it's certainly not going to help me. So I just have to put everything aside and focus on the love that we have. That's all that's mattered. Like, and we still say it, like, as long as I have you guys, as long as I have us and this family and this love, I can do anything. Like, I there's days I get up and I'm like, I'm an absolute imposter. Like, I don't even know. I feel so weak and tired and anxious and busy and distraction. And then I'm like, no, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And whether that's good, bad, I just keep moving forward and finding new ways to spread the love, I guess. And I think that's the thing, when we slow down in our day and we look at the people around us and the ones that matter the most, that's really all that matters. That's all that matters. And, you know, my little one, she's not here, but she taught me that. She said, Mom, slow down. Mom, put your phone down.
Yeah.
And I was like, absolutely. Here I am.
We all need to do that more.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, too, you talk about guilt, and you can't play God. And I don't know where our listeners are, where you are. I don't even know where I am, to be honest. So I got not preaching to anybody here.
Faith can be hard.
Yeah, it's hard for me, and I haven't gone through what you have. But at the end of the day, like, there are things that are bigger than us, and you can't control that.
Right.
But that's so hard for many of us to grasp because we want to control everything.
Yeah.
And we're such an instant gratification. It's like, I'm going to take my kid to the doctor and you're going to give him a pill and it's going to make him feel better.
Right.
You didn't have that option.
No. And I call them like little bubbles of hope. And I'm like, feel like I'm constantly chasing these little bubbles of hope. Like, I hoped for a cure. I hoped for her to feel better. I hoped for her to live, and she didn't. So now I just hope for a little bit of peace and a little bit of happiness and a little bit of strength to keep helping people. And, those are my little bubbles.
The helping people thing too. Well, and you're already doing it. You guys have been giving scholarships through the foundation, and you're giving out thousands of dollars in scholarships to Bondurant high school kids. Is that what?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Which has been inspiring. A lot of kids have been writing letters, and really neat stuff. And that spreads her. I mean, what a legacy. Think if we're doing this 20 years from now, that Ava's life will be able to spread.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal, is to, use her love, and, she may not be here, but she's still going to make an impact, still going to make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what, she didn't get to go to college and be a fashion designer and a cheerleader that she wanted to be, but that doesn't mean we can't help somebody else do that. And it is neat to see the kids. We put like a service, I don't know if it's called an expectation, but we do put that on there. We kind of, how are you going to make a difference in the world? And that's what we look for. And the recipient and the letters we get back from these young adults are inspiring. The things that they're already doing in life and the plans that they have and the goals they have inspire me. And it makes me grateful to have the opportunity.
So the event we're having coming up on Saturday, and we'll get back more into our conversation, but I want to be sure to really hammer this thing home, because this event, it's your second annual block party, but this one's special because Ava was supposed to graduate this year, and a lot of time and has been put into this. And I don't know how you did that in May, like going around to those parties, and I know it was.
Yeah, that was hard.
I know it was difficult.
Yeah. There was a lot of hugs, which I'm grateful for. I mean, the invitations just kept coming in. I mean, she's been gone 7 years. She was supposed to go into 6th grade, and her classmates and her teachers, and they're just so wonderful. And we went to the graduation, and that was hard. Yeah. I mean, imagine walking in and the stadium is filled and there's a chair with a robe and a hat and the chair's empty. And I'm like, that's not how this is supposed to be,
Yeah.
But then I looked around me and I was like, okay, there's so much support in our community. I mean, that's the driving force here, is just to say thank you for continuing to love Ava and to continue to support us in all the ways that they do. There was a program. Well, it still exists. It's called Monkey in My Chair. And we learned about it through the hospital, Blink Children's Hospital, and the Child Life staff. They are wonderful. I have to throw that plug in there because they even love them. Yeah, and there's different programs there that we would love to support. But anyway, Monkey in the Chair, the Child Life staff brought it over to the school, and Ava stood in front of all of her classmates and told them what was happening to her. And she had this monkey. And so she said, when I'm not here, this monkey will be in my chair. And this darn monkey was, especially thanks to her teacher and her classmates, they took the monkey through middle school all the way through high school, and that monkey graduated with them.
That's powerful.
They carried it out, put it in the chair, and the monkey even went to some graduations, and he is going to the University of Iowa.
Whoa.
I know, right?
It's okay. They had a dog named Herky.
Yeah. He came with that name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
That's the other thing that has been really inspiring. And my oldest has been in Iowa City quite a bit. Nothing life-threatening or anything like that, but enough where we've spent a lot of time in that children's hospital.
Mm-hmm.
These workers,
I know,
they're angels.
Yeah.
Because again, Cameron was there for a foot thing, nothing. But then the kids across the hall are going through cancer treatments, or like, these workers are angels. Like, I don't know how a human could get up to work every day and watch families like yours. I mean, there's special people in these children's hospitals.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm proud of Emma. She's going to be an educator.
Right.
And that'd be Ava's older sister, but she wants to be a special education educator. I mean, she's going to be.
Yeah.
She starts in Des Moines this year. Mm-hmm. That has to make you extra proud too, because she chose that. I know much because of her past.
Yeah. Ava and her teachers, her special education teachers, inspired her. And so she's going to go do that. She's going to help kids who touch her heart. She has a lot of love to give. So,
well, that's another way she's spreading her joy.
Yeah. She has
through big sis.
Yeah. Yeah, she's great. She'll start in Des Moines in August. I'm excited. She's talking about her classroom and
all right, you get to go decorate the classroom.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
We better make it purple and pink.
Yeah.
No, but these healthcare workers, like so my wife being a veterinarian, we've talked about, there's a thing, it's a very real thing in the medical field, compassion fatigue. A lot of these veterinarians will get it. You're euthanizing dogs all the time,
right?
And cats, and like it's a very real thing. By the time you get in your 50s, and healthcare workers will get it too. Like these ER people, where it's just another person coming through the door, right? It's not somebody's father or sister. It's another person coming through the door. Like these children's hospital people have a different level to them than, I mean, it's like they are angels in there. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming you've come across, hundreds of them over the years. What do you have to say about these people? Because I think that we need to give them a shout out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember, I always said thank you. I mean, that was a big deal to me that someone was doing the hard job and helping me take care of my child in a way that I was not able to do. And so I always made sure to say thank you. And I don't know how many times I said, I don't know how you do this. And they would look at me and they'd be like, I don't know how you do this. And it was like, that was the dawning of the moment that they were, I don't know, that's their driving force, is to help other people with skills that they don't have, like I don't have a medical degree, but they do. And so they come in and they're going to use that to help us save our kids. And I don't know, they deserve a cape and a crown. And
they're heroes.
I don't know. They definitely don't get paid enough or get enough time off, but there's too much work to do. But yeah, I would put each and every one of them on a pedestal if I could.
Well, what it does do is it shows you that not is all polarizing and bad in the world.
Oh no.
Right. Like we can get on social media or just turn on your TV.
Right.
It's just people yelling at each other and the temperature is just hot. Right now, right? Where you think everything is, but then it's like you do slow down. And again, like we were in a bad situation with Cameron, but we spent enough time in this children's hospital where you just talk to these people and they give you hope like that. Oh man, I hope my daughter meets a man like that, right? Who's a good person and just loves. And there are a lot of them out there. And that's the thing too. We've seen this with you guys are one of the reasons we're still in Bondurant. When we moved across the street from you, we weren't planning on being there for very long. Right. We're renting this house and like we're kind of there because we had an opportunity to rent this house and we're going to just feel it out. And we've grown to it's weird. Like this town is like taken off in size, but it still has this small town feel to it where everybody just supports.
Right.
It's cool. I mean, and you guys have, I'm sure, just had a showering of that over the years. Seeing that love, it doesn't replace your child, but does it give you hope?
Yeah. Ava was, or is amazing. Like I say Ave amazing a lot. But I don't know why. I can't say she was like the chosen one because that's weird, but there's something resonated with her story and our community, and like nothing I had ever seen before, like the ribbons and just the different things that people came to do for us. And even to this day, the pink and purple lights on our street.
Yeah.
Like that is the most welcoming thing I have ever seen. And I don't even know how to, so everybody, well, you had a hand in that.
Well, I can tell the story. I didn't necessarily think it would be 7 years later. When she died, I went to Lowe's and I bought as many pink and purple lights as I could. And then I bought them off the shelf and I walked them around to the neighbors. And we've had a lot of people like move in and out of the neighborhood. Some who I've never even talked to. Yep. That they still have these lights up.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. You'll know our neighborhood if you're flying over Bondurant at any point. We're the ones that are just glowing of pink and purple all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the greatest thing to drive down the street and know that she's, I don't know, her spirit's just glowing.
Everybody go. And the thing is like, I bought them the first time, but everybody's replaced them. You know, they're not, and it's spread a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it feels like every year it's like 2 houses down, they're going to add a pink and purple light.
Yeah. Well, like Rosa down the street, she stopped Chris one day just a month or so ago and said, "Can we do that too?" And he's like, yes.
Yeah. We'd encourage it.
Yeah. And the neighbors behind us, they put one on the back, their back patio. So it shines.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great.
So this pro wrestling event.
Yeah.
You guys wanted to do something. I think it was the Super Bowl this year, when we were kicking this thing around, and you wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
And we landed on this, but this is going to be fun. So we start at 5 on Saturday night, and Aiden's going to have graphics all over the screen for you. Go to all my social media feeds. Living Ava's Way on Facebook. I would encourage you all to go follow that. Joni wrote a beautiful blog piece. Wednesday night, I believe, is when you got that published. I would encourage you all to go read that. But this is going to be a fun day. So it starts at 5, and we're going to have live music. We are going to have a face painter there for kids. That I know Elise is all fired up about that already. She started planning the whole thing out. We are going to have food trucks. We are going to have a donkey Like a literal donkey that's going to be walking around serving people beer. I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
Pedro the donkey is going to be in town.
I'm so excited.
I am too. I've been looking forward to this event for a long time. And now that we're getting there, I'm going to have some Iowa State players out there with Crystal and Brent from We Will Collective. And we're going to pull off a pro wrestling, Impact Pro Wrestling. So my friend Troy, I didn't know Troy before this. He lives in town and they've been very gracious. They have like 7 events in the month of July. But when I presented him the opportunity to do this, he's like, I have to do it. Like, I got to pull it off because it's he's a sweet guy. He goes, you're my neighbors. Like, I got to figure this out. He's never met any of us at this point, but he's like, I really want to contribute to this and be a part of it. And I'm excited because I think this is going to be, if you have kids, this is the spot to be on Saturday night. We're going to have a blast. And adults too. Bring your lawn chairs. We're all just going to sit out there, listen to music and watch a pro wrestling event.
Yeah, I know.
What did you think when me and Chris came up with the idea to have a pro wrestling event? Because my wife was all like, is Joni on board with this? I had to call Chris and be like, my wife is convinced that Joni doesn't want to have the pro wrestling event.
I am excited. I haven't actually watched pro wrestling or that type of wrestling since probably the 90s. Randy Savage. And
the Macho Man. Absolutely.
Andre the Giant. But this will be amazing. I think it'll be great. Ava was the type of kid, like, we'd be out and about. We'd be in the bathroom. She'd be singing any song she could find that was about beer. You know, she was just that kid. She loved.
Well, she'll love Pedro the donkey then.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it'll be fun. So I'm really excited. You think about it, you're like, oh, wrestling outside. Oh, yeah, we can make that work.
It's Bondurant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're not Ankeny. I know Ankeny's got Summerfest going on, and I hope you all have fun. But this is not Ankeny.
Right. Yeah. No. This is totally Bondurant. It's totally us. Like.
Yeah.
Out of pocket.
I think too we can build on it. Like I'm telling you, these indie pro wrestling things, they have big followings.
Yeah.
I think that this could be a deal.
Finding this out.
I think there'll be some people there who don't even know about but that's the whole point. And this is why I encourage you to do this. This is not easy, people, to go through what Joni has and to come on and talk. And I hope that it's a positive experience and we can do this and, keep, spreading light. And it's important. We've done a lot for St. Baldrick's with my stuff over the years. And I think we can do that with Living Ava's Way, where the cancer research is great and we're going to keep doing it. But I found that our audience loves to impact local families, like really, 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 really make an impact.
Right.
And that's what I love about what you guys are doing, that every dollar, see, these tickets are $10. You can buy them at the gate, whatever. We have an incredible outpouring support of sponsors for this event. So we're already making money for the foundation, but everything ticket wise and all that in donations, we had a guy who listens to Cyclone Fanatic donate $500. He's from Colorado. And he's just like, I want to be a part of this. And any of you who want to make a donation, hit me up on Twitter and I will send you the link, and we have forums for you to do that. I think the more we talk about it, this is something that our audience can really get behind, and we can.
Yeah.
I think we're in the top of the first inning here with Living Ava's Way is how I like to look at it. Yeah. And I promise you right now, you've done so much for me and my family. Like, I will not rest until I help you do that.
Yeah. Oh, you have the best family.
Well,
it's easy.
The girls make me look good. Let's be honest. It's kind of like Chris and you guys.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're the sweetest. We have the best times.
Yeah, they're gonna be fired up for this too. Again, like this face painter has worked with We Will before. It's gonna be there. We're starting at 5 with all that stuff, and then the wrestling actually kicks off at 7:00. If you want to come, it's at the Brick House Fitness. But they have like this courtyard in the background, which is where all of this is going to take place. And where all this stuff, we've got food trucks. I think there's a Mexican truck that's going to be there. Mm-hmm. There's Delma Cookies. Is that right? Or no, there's like
Granny Annie's ice
Granny
cream.
Annie's. That's what it was. I knew it was an old woman's name.
She's making pink and purple. I think it's birthday cake ice cream.
Oh wow, well that's perfect.
Great, yeah,
I know 2 little girls that will be lined up at the door for that thing from day one. What's before we wrap this thing up, I really want to leave people with a positive. Like I talk about that with what Chris told me, I don't know, 10 years ago about the cookies on the crumbs on the counter or whatever it is. And it's inspiring. And that's kind of what I want to leave people with, right? Like, I don't like saying, I had a really good friend once who told me, because I have a tendency to say, well, it could always be worse. I say that, but our feelings are still our feelings, right? You can't, just because somebody has it worse doesn't mean your feelings aren't real.
Right.
But we could all use a dose of perspective, right? And that's where I'm trying now. I just turned 40 to really, it's like, oh, is it really that bad? Like I might think it's that bad. Oh, I'm so stressed out. I've got I got to do all these podcasts about football. Oh yeah, really, you have a terrible life, man.
It's hard. It is. Life is. It's hard, but I think the important thing is to stay in perspective. That we can. How do I say this? We can keep the competition on the field, and not in our day-to-day lives. Stop comparing ourselves to others and stop competing. Like I've met so many people who've lost people in their lives. Like it doesn't matter if it's grandma or grandpa or a husband or a wife or loss is loss. You know, everybody's like, well, I don't know how you do it. You lost a child. That's the worst thing in the world. And it's awful, but it's not a competition.
Yeah.
And so I think in life, if we look at life in that perspective and we keep the competition in the athletics and different things and stop comparing ourselves to other people and just do what feels right for us, then we'll all be happier, a little bit happier. And I think too, we all want to be happy. And I think happiness is this thing we're constantly seeking. And sometimes it feels like we're falling short, like, because we're just always working and always pushing to do the next thing because we have families to raise and jobs to do and houses to keep or whatever. But happiness is finding purpose in something. Whether that purpose is just recognizing that what you do is special to your fans and to the Cyclone fanatics. I mean, they are the best fans. So, but that's a purpose that you have each day. And you are making a difference in people's lives because you are giving them content, not just sports, but content like this, like sharing about a foundation or different charity causes or talking about even just your story about your dog. I mean, Dirks was the best dog. But that helps people to know that it's okay to be human and it's okay to have feelings. So I think knowing that that's a bigger purpose in life than just going to work.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because I didn't have that perspective 10 years ago. But now again, everything's like, I turned 40. I know you do. You just pick up on things that when I was 25, you just couldn't even comprehend.
Yeah.
And I feel like even you, and Emma's a better example. She's 22, but she's got the maturity of a 45-year-old, right? Because of what she's endured.
Oh, absolutely.
It just makes you, you're so strong because of it. I know you don't want to be, you'd rather be.
I still encourage to be a kid. I will always encourage anyone who just wants to go and have fun. Just do it. Who cares what anybody thinks? I do have a funny story.
Let's go.
Emma mowed the yard yesterday for the first
I saw
time.
her out there doing that.
She offered to do that, and she did it for the first time.
How'd she do?
She was so mad. She came inside. She's like, or actually she went in and took a shower and she came downstairs. She's like, Chris had to show me up. what did he have to do that for? He made these perfect stripes in his yard.
Sorry.
I was so funny. I was laughing but that was the moment where I was like, yes, still be a kid. It's all right.
Absolutely. And the fun thing is important to laugh. And I'd also add, when you said, one of the things you said that really stood out to me is quit comparing yourselves. These things, and I'm holding up my phone, are absolutely toxic. Right. When you're lying in bed and scrolling Instagram, and I'm guilty of it, for an hour before you go to sleep, it does nothing but try and brainwash us to, oh, well, that woman has bigger breasts than me, or that guy has a fancier car than me, or all these things. Yeah. And I'll be that dad. Like I've seen it. I'm not letting my kid, I see it now with a 9-year-old, and she sees these things that I didn't know existed when I was 9.
Right.
And she's not, I don't want her comparing herself to every Instagram model.
Right.
For the next 15 years. It's not mentally, like, and we can all learn from that. Right. Like, it's not just the 9-year-olds.
No.
It can be the 40-year-old woman laying in bed. Like, yeah, that guy might have 6-pack abs and I don't, but I love you more. Right. Like there's no reason to leave your family. Right. Like I just feel like these things are really toxic and we don't necessarily realize it in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the second time I've had this conversation today. Earlier today, the same thing, how the phones in kids' hands and the mental health, and even in adults, mental health issues that can come from that. And I think it's just being aware that there's a time and a place.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just have to put it down and just be. And we also have to accept the fact that it's important to be human and make mistakes. Like, I am my own worst critic, and I make mistakes all the time, and I beat myself up about it. And then I just have to remember that that's how we learn, and we have to be human.
Yeah.
So
I always tell people that at least in business and in work, like the best employees are the ones that started at the bottom and worked their way all the way up.
Yeah.
Because they've experienced what the person at the bottom is experiencing.
Right.
Right. Sure. Like, I don't, in my scenario, like, I don't want to hire a beat writer to cover the Cyclones who's only covered a Big 12 high. Like, I want a guy or gal who's done high school and worked themselves up, because they appreciate it more. They have more respect for the business. Right. And, I do feel like our society is probably, we all just want it now. Oh, I want that new truck. I got to have it now.
Right.
Well, maybe you can't afford it. Right. Save for it. Or, like it's just, none of that stuff matters. Like you said, if you have your family and you have shelter, and I said this when Dirks died, like, if you have love, shelter, and food and water, like, right. I mean, that's really all we need.
Right. Yeah. It's okay to be,
to
simplify and live simply.
Now I'm going to go be one of those minimalists. Just go throw everything away, and good luck with that.
I think about that all the time. I'm like, I just get rid of all this stuff, and then I'm like, here I am on Amazon.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a thing though. Like, think about how much money we spend on Amazon scrolling at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
Crap we don't need, because it's so easy.
It is. It shows up the next morning.
Yeah, some of it's the same day. You give it 5 years, we're gonna have these like robots flying to our house and dropping it off.
Right.
These drones.
Don't drop it in the backyard. The dog will eat it.
Yeah, no kidding. We both have experience with that. Well, thank you. I hope that you had a little bit of fun with this.
Yeah, I did. I actually did better than I thought.
I wasn't going to lead you down a dark hole.
Even brought a box of Kleenexes. I was like, well, like, you wash your car and it rains. I was like, if I bring the Kleenexes, I'll hold it together.
I do think there's more meat that we can pick off this bone, and we should totally do that when we're getting to St. Baldrick's time or something like that, because I think that's a really important story. The two that I would like to tell are the sibling one, because I love Emma like my own daughters, and she's done great, by the way. Like, she's a trooper. Like, but I'm sure she's had dark moments that I don't know about. Yeah. Right. And I care for those survivor kids that are the siblings, and it's unreal to me the more research that I've done over 15 years or whenever we've been doing the St. Baldrick's thing, it makes me irate, the lack of research for these kids.
Right.
It makes me as mad about as anything I think I've ever experienced.
Right.
It is wrong. And I don't know what we can do about it, but I think that, telling the story and giving people the facts,
Right.
which I don't have them all in front of me right now, but I know my friends at St. Baldrick's do.
Yeah.
And that's why we're such proponents of what they do. And that's a good organization because they're not keeping it for high executive dollar pay. Like I think it's like 90% goes to the actual research, which is important when you're doing these charities, right? You got to look under the hood.
Yeah. It's mostly like you said, over 90% volunteer driven,
which is incredible.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing on Saturday night. Right. So like this money, even if you can't go, I would encourage you all to make a donation because it's going to go help a local family and what I think we're doing too is we're building a war chest so you can do some really special things in the future.
Yeah.
And impact a ton of lives.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in. This isn't easy. It's not fun, but I think we can do some special things.
I think so too.
She's Joni Hutchinson. She's one of my best friends. Come join us on Saturday night in Bondurant. Pro wrestling, live music, cold beer, face painting, ice cream, nachos. It's like the perfect Saturday night in the state of Iowa, folks.
All right. All of the things.
Come look all over our Iowa Everywhere feeds. Look all over my social feeds. You can have we even have the scan codes where you can just buy your tickets right there. You don't have to do that. You can buy your ticket to get in. It's only $10 right there at the door. It's not the door, the tent or whatever we're going to have set up. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And we'll be back next week here on CW Pod. I want to thank our presenting sponsors, Steeple Ridge Bourbon, and my friend Pat over there in Earling, Iowa. We'll be back next week.